We are anonymous. I don't wear a suit. I don't wave a party flag. And I don't ask permission from billionaires, politicians, or media executives. I exist to watch power closely, especially when it gets comfortable lying to your face. And right now, one of the biggest lies in American politics is collapsing in real time. Because Fox News, the network that protected Donald Trump for years, just dropped a live TV bomb on his economic record. Not out of courage, not out of honesty, but because reality has become too loud to ignore. As the November midterms close in, you can feel the panic setting in. It's in the tone of conservative commentators. It's in the nervous laughter on Fox panels. It's in the sudden shift from bragging to explaining, from confidence to excuses. Donald Trump's economy, the one thing he was supposed to own, the one talking point Republicans thought would save them, is falling apart right in front of their audience. For years, Trump benefited from two powerful myths. The first is the myth that Republicans are naturally better at the economy, even though decades of data show the opposite, that economic growth, job creation, and fiscal stability consistently perform better under Democratic administrations. The second myth is even more absurd, the idea that Donald Trump is a brilliant businessman, a genius billionaire deal-maker who understands money better than anyone else in the room. That myth survived reality shows, branding, and repetition, not facts. And together, those myths gave Trump an automatic polling advantage on the economy that he never earned. But myths don't last forever. Eventually, people feel the truth in their wallets. In just 1 year, Trump's economic approval ratings have collapsed. They are now as bad as, and in some polls worse than, Joe Biden's lowest moments. Let that sink in. The economy was supposed to be Trump's shield, the one area where scandals, indictments, chaos, and authoritarian rhetoric wouldn't matter. And now even that shield is gone. Fox News is being forced to acknowledge what millions of Americans already know when they pay rent, buy groceries, or look at their credit card bills. Karl Rove tried to rescue the narrative the only way Republicans know how. He wrote an opinion piece praising Trump's tariffs, claiming they slashed the federal deficit, crushed the trade deficit, and somehow avoided inflation altogether. He framed it as Trump proving the critics wrong, even hinting that the Supreme Court should be paying attention. It was a fantasy written for people desperate to believe that all the pain is somehow part of a brilliant plan. But then Fox News did something remarkable. It let reality speak.
In the Wall Street Journal, talking about how tariffs, that everybody was against him on this, said it was going to be terrible, and he writes a lengthy piece there talking about how they're working. He says, with the help of tariffs, we have cut the federal budget deficit by a staggering 27% in a single year, and even more incredibly, we have slashed our monthly trade deficit by an astonishing 77%, all with virtually no inflation, which everyone said could not be done. Now, Karl, we wait for a tariff decision from the Supreme Court. He does mention the court in this piece, too. It says he hopes they're paying attention, but he says for now, he's proving the haters wrong.
On air, Rove was forced to admit that the numbers do not match how Americans feel. Manufacturing jobs are disappearing. Blue-collar jobs are vanishing. 70,000 manufacturing jobs lost in a single year. 145,000 blue-collar jobs gone. Consumer confidence among blue-collar workers has dropped to the lowest level since 1976. Not since the oil crisis, not since stagflation, since the data began.
Yeah, well, the problem is we need to go back to essentials. Olivia put her finger on it. He's making the same mistake Joe Biden made. Bidenomics is working. That piece in the Wall Street Journal is the economy is great. That's not what people feel. Last year, we lost 70,000 manufacturing jobs. We lost 145,000 blue-collar jobs. There's a great deck put out today by the Washington consultant and prognosticator Bruce Millman. Blue-collar consumer confidence is at a record low since 1976 when they began asking the question.
That is not an opinion. That is not spin. That is lived experience. And underneath it all is a deeper structural problem Trump refuses to acknowledge. The top 20% of Americans now generate 75% of GDP. The bottom 80% are left with just 25%. Inflation hits working people hardest because rent, utilities, food, transportation, and healthcare rise faster than wages. So when Trump brags about stock markets or trade statistics, voters don't feel inspired.
20% of the American population is responsible for 75% of the GDP. The bottom 80% is responsible for 25% of the GDP. The lower income households are bearing a bigger burden of inflation because the things that they have to pay for, like rent and utilities, have risen higher. Back to essentials. 3 things. Biden put us in a deep hole. We're working hard to get it out. here's the success we've had so far, but we got more to do, and what I've got to do is A, B, C, D. Not everything is hunky-dory. It conflicts with what you feel. Get where people are, and where people are is they're willing to accept that good things are happening. They're willing to accept if he explains it what he's done, but they want to hear, most important of all, you know we're still in a bad place, and you got more things you want to get done.
They feel insulted because their lives do not reflect his talking points. Trump's response has been predictable and lazy. He denies everything. He boasts. He blames Joe Biden for policies Trump himself pushed or expanded. But the public isn't buying it anymore. Not from Democrats, not from Republicans, not from Fox News, not even from Trump's own inner circle. His favorite pollster, Tony Fabrizio, has reportedly told him repeatedly that voters are unhappy with his economy. Trump ignored him just like he ignores anyone who doesn't flatter him. Then came the Wall Street Journal, a conservative but credible paper, not a tabloid, not clickbait, laying out the truth in cold detail. U.S. manufacturing is in retreat, and Trump's tariffs are not helping. The golden age Trump promised has gone into reverse. Fewer Americans work in manufacturing now than at any point since the pandemic ended. Since Trump rolled out his so-called Liberation Day tariffs, manufacturers have shed workers for 8 straight months. More than 200,000 manufacturing jobs have disappeared since 2023. Factory activity has contracted for more than 2 years straight. Construction spending that surged under Biden-era investments in semiconductors and clean energy dropped sharply during Trump's first months back in office. Economists are blunt. The United States never fully recovered from the pandemic shock, and Trump didn't fix that. He made it worse. Auto manufacturers and chip makers have laid off tens of thousands of workers. Any productivity gains are coming from efficiency, automation, and cost-cutting, not from hiring. That means fewer jobs, not opportunity. Tariffs, the centerpiece of Trump's economic identity, are doing exactly what experts warned. They raise costs. They disrupt supply chains. They force companies to raise prices or delay investment. Businesses that rely on imported parts are scrambling. Executives describe Trump's trade policy as chaos. Threaten Europe. Threaten Canada. Threaten South Korea. Announce tariffs. Delay them. Reverse them. Repeat. Add the possibility that courts could strike parts of the tariff regime down, and uncertainty explodes. Companies don't invest in chaos. They freeze or they leave. Meanwhile, global competitors keep moving. China continues exporting aggressively. Prices drop in international markets. U.S. manufacturers struggle to compete, not because they are lazy or inefficient, but because Trump's policies box them in while rivals adapt. Even industries Trump claims to protect are suffering. Steel executives admit tariffs have not helped their products. Some companies cannot even source enough American steel to meet demand, forcing them to import anyway. Growth is being choked by shortages Trump created himself. And then Fox News really started to crack. On-air hosts searched for metaphors to explain away the damage. One compared Trump's economy to renovating a house, saying you have to make it worse before it gets better.
Sometimes when you renovate a house, you got to make it worse before you make it better. You're going to put a lot of things at play, right? There's going to be a lot of sheetrock laying around. There's going to be nails in the floor.
Do you see the look on the other four's faces? They're like, oh!
The discomfort in the studio was obvious. Renovation implies a plan. Bulldozing implies destruction. Americans aren't buying this because it sounds like an excuse, not leadership. Another Fox segment admitted something far more revealing. Young adults are increasingly relying on their parents to pay rent, groceries, insurance, even basic social expenses. That is a classic recession indicator. When adult children can't launch independent lives, the economy is broken at a foundational level. Parents draining their savings to support their kids is not prosperity.
Because more young adults are admitting they're asking the bank of mom and dad to cover rent, insurance, groceries, and even nights out. So are parents fueling a failure to launch economy by propping up their adult children with thousands of dollars?
It is desperation. Then came the Fox News poll. Only 24% of Americans say they are better off financially than a year ago. 39% say they are worse off. The rest feel stuck. People don't feel optimism. They feel anxiety, and elections are decided by feelings as much as facts. Fox News openly acknowledged that this is dangerous territory for Republicans heading into the midterms. Stocks may be high, employment may look decent on paper, but when people feel poorer, more insecure, and more trapped, they vote against whoever is in charge. And when Fox News starts saying that out loud, the illusion is breaking. This is the moment Trump fears most. Losing Fox News doesn't just mean losing friendly coverage. It means losing the last machine willing to protect his narrative at all costs. It means his base is hearing doubt from voices they trust. It means the echo chamber is cracking. Trump could change course. He could listen. He could acknowledge pain instead of denying it. He could offer real solutions instead of slogans. But Donald Trump has never done that. His instinct is always the same. Double down, attack, blame, threaten, pretend. This is not just about economics. It is about power. When leaders refuse to face reality, they don't fix problems. They look for enemies. Immigrants, journalists, judges, protesters, voters. That is how economic failure turns into political extremism. Anonymous is here to expose this clearly. Trump's economic story is collapsing, and even Fox News can no longer hide it. The data, the polls, the jobs, the wages all point in the same direction. If you're listening to this, don't stay silent. Share it. Talk about it. Challenge the lies when you hear them. And most importantly, participate. Because silence protects power. And action is how truth survives.